Hello everyone, my name is Chelsea Seaburn. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how to get a degree fast and how to do it debt-free. Now I know that sounds like clickbait. It 100% would have sounded like clickbait to me if you had asked me a few years ago. But I'm sitting here today because I proved myself wrong. So when I was 23, I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree, my 4-year bachelor's degree, and I graduated at the age of 26 with that 4-year bachelor's degree and a 2-year master's degree on top of it. And I managed to do it in a way that was completely affordable. Now, I've actually been really hesitant to make this video because I'm not sure how much my college experience can help you in yours, but I felt like I should share because I'm not exceptional by any means in that I don't have a photographic memory. I'm not incredibly smart. I didn't take a bunch of AP classes in high school. The reason I was able to graduate so quickly was because I approached college a different way than I think most people do, or at least how most people are taught to. Fair warning, I'm gonna share with you my big secret ingredient for how I went through college fast, and I do think it's a little unconventional, maybe even taboo. If this is your first time here, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this every week. If you subscribe, don't forget to hit the bell notification to get notified every time I post a new video. Also, feel free to introduce yourself in the comment section below. I would love to know what your college experience was or is. But alright, let's get started. So if you're watching this, I'm sure you're aware that there is a massive student loan debt problem here in the United States. Matter of fact, I want to read some statistics here with you first. Alright, let me see here. So just Googling this and pulling this up online here, we're in April 2020. There is currently a student loan debt balance totaling $1.5 trillion. Over 50% of all college students take on debt. Most of them are in the form of those student loans. And the average amount of student loan debt per borrower is $35,000, and for some, it's much more. And now lastly, this is the statistic that got me the most. Roughly 3 million Americans that are 60 years old still have student debt, meaning they're entering retirement and applying for Social Security with their student loan debt or student loan debt that they co-signed for maybe their grandchild or their child. But this means that their Social Security checks are getting garnished, which is absolutely heartbreaking. Personally, I think the American student loan debt in general is heartbreaking. So now let's dive into my story. So this probably isn't going to come as a surprise, but I went to college online. More specifically, I chose an online college program that was self-paced. So because it was self-paced, it meant that I would pay a set tuition no matter how many classes I completed. So I could complete one course or I could complete 10 courses, the tuition amount wouldn't change. The reason my online self-paced program worked the best for this plan was because it gave me the opportunity to put the right systems in place that allowed me to go through my classes fast. The way it worked is I would work on one class at a time, and as soon as I was finished with it, I would move on to the next one. I was able to complete courses on average 2 to 3 weeks, and I know that sounds crazy, and I'm going to get into detail as to how I did that, but first let me take you through how much it cost. And in order to do that, I would like to do some numbers with you, and before you run away because numbers are gross, work with me here because I'm going to make this really easy. Alright, so here in the US, the average bachelor's degree program at a 4-year university runs for about $40,000. And a master's degree at a 2-year university also runs for about $40,000. This is just flat tuition. This doesn't include room and board or your books or travel or anything else. This is just strict tuition rates, bringing the average for these 2 degrees to about $80,000. Now, this number does depend on the degree you're getting and the university you go to, but for the sake of this video and coming up with an average for what you'd be spending at a traditional college, we're gonna say it's gonna be roughly $80,000. Now, if you're curious as to what I got my degrees in, I got my bachelor's in business management and I got my master's in business sales. But moving right along, I got my bachelor's degree for a whopping total of $12,600, and I got my master's degree for a total of $3,000, bringing my grand total to $15,600. Now, I know if this wasn't here, this number is still a big number, but we're gonna break this, what seems to be still very big, scary number, down even further. So let's translate this into what that looks like for a monthly rate. If you were to take that number, $15,600, and divide it by the amount of months I was in school, which was 42, your monthly rate would be $371. Now, to prove my point that this is affordable, I have one question for you, and that is, what is your car payment? Because here in the US, the average used car runs for about $391, while the average new car ranges all the way up past $500. So $371 a month is absolutely affordable to pay at a monthly rate, so you come out ahead without any debt. And I want to compare that to what the monthly rate would be when you take that amount and spend it towards that 80 grand for those 4-year and 2-year degree programs. So as we said, the average for the other two was $80,000. And now let's say you go the full term, you go the full 4 years and the 2 years, so 6 years total, which comes to 72 months. Your monthly average, are you ready for this? Would be $1,111. Again, this is assuming that you're spending the average, which comes to almost 3 times the amount of the $371 you'd be spending if you chose an online program like I did. Again, these numbers aren't exact. It depends on your situation and your degree, but I think they're enough to conclude the vast differences in between the two, where you can tell which one really is the better value. Truthfully, I don't think many people could spend over $1,000 a month on school, because that's more than a lot of people's rent. This, on the other hand, is the amount of what an average car payment is, and for some, it's a lot less. All right, before moving on, I want to add in real quick what the online programs would have cost had I gone full term. I understand not everyone watching this video is going to go through their online courses as fast as I did, or even fast in general. Maybe you're just looking for a debt-free way to go through school. All right, so if I had gone through the full 4-year bachelor's program at my online school, it would have cost a total of $16,800. And if I had gone through the full 2-year master's program, that would have cost an additional $12,000, bringing that total to $28,800. Again, I know that's a big dollar figure, but in comparison to that 80 grand average, you would still come out ahead. $51,000. And by the way, that still breaks down to that $370 a month, which again is the affordable part, because you're paying monthly. You're not taking out a big lump sum loan that you're not able to pay back later. You're paying it as you go. Which brings me into my next point of why online schooling is the best method if you want to go through schooling debt-free, is because 1, it is affordable, and 2, you're able to work while you go to school. It gives you complete freedom over your schedule, which allows you to balance a school and a work life. For my bachelor's program, I was working in restaurants because restaurants allow you to make really good money. The service industry, in my opinion, has the highest working hours to income ratio there is pre-degree. Matter of fact, a lot of servers have a hard time getting out of the service industry because you're making close to salary wages without a degree. So you usually have to take a pay cut when you decide to get into your career and take that entry-level position. You see, getting a degree is a catch-22 because most employers want you to have that degree, and then come to find out they want you to have work experience also. Going the online route like I did was great because it allowed me to, one, get my degree, and two, get my work experience simultaneously. So when I was graduated, I had both of those boxes checked off. So not only was this plan setting me up for job opportunities later, but because I was working, I could afford the monthly payments. But all right, so now I want to share with you my big, deep, dark secret for how I got my degrees fast. This is where things might get a little unconventional. So if you don't agree with the way I did it, please know that's fine. This is just what helped me and what allowed me to get my degrees in 3 years. And by the way, if your goal is debt-free schooling, getting your degrees fast does help with that because obviously I saved a lot of money by getting out of school as fast as I could. I would like to talk with you guys about GPA in the real world. So each and every one of us is programmed into thinking that your GPA is going to matter when you enter the real world. When you're in high school, you're told you have to get the highest GPA so you can get into the best schools. GPA, get the best because eventually you're going to need it when you go and get a job. And here's the thing. Yes, your GPA matters in these 3 scenarios. Scenario number 1, your plan is to get accepted into a private or prestigious university or transfer to a highly specialized program later on. If your goal though is to go to college either debt-free or quick, this probably isn't your plan. Scenario number 2, you're going into a field where GPA does matter, such as maybe law. And if you're going into a field where GPA matters, then you're most likely going to one of the private or prestigious universities. Therefore, this doesn't apply to you either. Now, scenario number 3, you're not planning to get a job or have any work experience until after you graduate. So if you're not going to a private or prestigious university, or you're not going into a field where you would get a degree at one of those universities, the only time your GPA is actually going to matter is if you have no work experience after you graduate. If you're going to school online and you're paying for it because you want to come out debt-free, this means you're working. So guys, here's my big secret that nobody wants to say out loud to college students, and that is when you're out of school, your GPA stops mattering. There is always an exception to this rule, but for most people in most fields, your GPA is not going to matter later on. Your employer will not ask you what your GPA was, let alone hire you off of it. Now, I'm not saying you should fail your way through college. By no means am I saying that, but it's important to understand that your future employer doesn't actually hire off of your GPA. What they're going to hire off of is that you have the degree and you have some experience, albeit a work experience or internships. If you look up the job requirements on just about any job description in any field, you'll see things like bachelor's degree required, 1 to 2 years work experience preferred, excellent time management skills, self-motivated, and so on and so on. Nowhere in that does it say anything about a GPA. Your future employer would rather you have work experience because that's going to save them a lot of time and money training you on the skills that you can only learn when you're out working in the field. That's where the catch-22 comes from. This is why internships are so important. So what I did was I put together a foolproof system that worked on every class that allowed me to get the exact grade I needed, and then I moved on to the next. I'm a perfectionist at heart, so instead of trying to perfect each class, I perfected the art of getting exactly what I needed to pass, no more no less. A bachelor's program requires you to maintain a C average, and a master's requires you to maintain a B. Now, if you're cringing at the thought of getting a B or a C in a course, hear me out. College in general is a sign of hard work. It shows that you can work for something without instant gratification. Truthfully, there are hundreds of thousands of new graduates graduating every year with 3.5 and above GPAs from four-year universities with little to no work experience. So this type of resume doesn't stand out anymore unless you have those extracurricular activities and those internships. The type of resume that is far less common is showing that you got a 4-year degree in 2 or 3 years, or that you got your full degree at that online program. Again, an online program shows self-discipline, self-motivation, time management skills, and it has self-learning skills written all over it. This isn't to minimize the accomplishments of someone that did go to the 4-year university and got the 4.0 grade average. Honestly, you're amazing. That is such a hard thing to do, and it's a completely different beast in itself. But for the sake of this video and for the sake of getting a college degree debt-free, getting it fast, not spending half a decade to get your education, I'm here to advocate for that because it can be done. But more importantly, it can be done in a way that builds a really strong resume that translates into the real world. By the way, let me know if you're interested in a video where I break down the exact way I structured all of my classes. I used the exact same system whether I was taking finance or I was taking marketing, and it worked every time. Now, if you're sitting there wondering, but did you actually learn anything? I'm here to say, heck yes, I did. There's a reason why there's that minimum grade point average. That's because that's the level at which you gain an understanding for the course material. And since you're in online schooling, you have to become your own teacher. So I found that by being my own teacher, aiming for C's and B's in my courses, I learned far more than I ever did sitting in a classroom environment where someone was teaching to me. So it kind of sounds like I'm building a case for online schooling here, and I guess that's what I'm doing. So here's my closing argument. So many of us are taught to cringe at the idea of getting a C or even a B. You know, a lot of us are taught that unless you have an A, you don't have much to be proud of. That doesn't go for everyone, but I do think it goes for a lot of people. Receiving an A in a course means you have an excellent understanding of the knowledge, meaning that you have as close to a full understanding of the knowledge as possible. Now, going all the way down to a C means you have a satisfactory understanding of the material, or in other words, an adequate understanding. So here's my argument. Why not become excellent at receiving a satisfactory understanding of your course material? Because here's the thing, in the real world, in your job, you're only going to use a satisfactory amount of the material, if that. Ask yourself, how much of your high school education do you use in your daily adult life? Tell me, how important have your long division skills been? How important is it that you know how to cite the periodic table or that you know what a parallelogram is? All jokes aside, I'm convinced that there's no college degree where you need an excellent understanding of the material, because your future employer is going to take small bits and pieces of your degree, and then they're going to teach you how to apply it to their field or their industry. They're going to teach you a whole new set of skills on top of it. Even in my master's program, which was more focused than my bachelor's, I'm convinced that there were full courses that I'll never use again in my life, let alone parts of courses that I'm going to use in my future job. So again, why not become excellent at being satisfactory in school so you can excel in life? Save your tens of thousands of dollars and go buy your first house before you're 30, or save your time and money and go travel and see the world before you settle down and have kids, if that's something you're interested in. I'm all about working smarter, not harder, and so if there's a way to make something more efficient, I'm all about it. And so that's how I approached college. Now, I might regret doing this, but I would actually love to know your thoughts on this video because, again, I think I approach college in a very unconventional, non-traditional way. So if you agree with it, let me know. But if you disagree with it, know that that's okay too. My goal here was truly not to upset anyone, just to give you guys another way to approach the American college experience, because it really does break my heart how many people are plagued with this student loan debt when you don't have to be. Guys, if you're still here right now, I hope that's because you found this video useful. If you did enjoy it, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friend, and of course, subscribe for more videos like this every week. Thank you.